John, you and I both have spent way too much of our lives in locker rooms around professional athletes, sometimes around people with remarkable physiques in some state of undress. And I don't think you and I had to think about it too hard to realize that we would never want ourselves to ever have to have any kind of physical conflict against these human beings. And yet there is a video out this weekend of Cam Newton getting attacked by 3 or 4 guys while wearing, for some reason, a Wicked Witch of the West hat. Cam Newton, a quarterback, not even like a defensive end, not Daniil Hunter, not not Aaron Donald, a quarterback, takes these guys on, throws them around like they're rag dolls, and the Wicked Witch of the hat never comes off of his head. Don't mess with professional athletes, people. They are a different breed.
Especially do not mess with Cam Newton, Jim. I do think that people do not understand, yes, that, not only their ability to use their strength to their advantage and just, get in scraps and win those, but how big these dudes are. I will never forget the Panthers played the Vikings years ago at US Bank Stadium. And after the game, I went into the Panthers locker room and Cam Newton was in the middle of the locker room. And I am telling you, Jim, one of the most massive human beings I've ever been around. Even in a locker room with like Julius Peppers and with, all their offensive linemen, this guy was a mountain in the middle of it, like just enormous. And so, like, you can see it on TV and you can watch it and have an idea, but until you are up close and personal with him, it's like I would not be surprised if those guys who were like he was throwing around like rag dolls were all 6 feet tall or taller. Like it's amazing how small he makes people look. And so just watching him absolutely yo-yo these dudes around was hilarious to me because they obviously thought they were tough. They thought that they could do something. And once they got into the middle of the ring with him, they realized it was an entirely different thing, and Cam gave it to him, and it was phenomenal.
It was, and it reminds me of the times you'd see Adrian. I was standing next to a Vikings offensive lineman once, and he's sitting there and he's like mixing just the right number of amino acids and proteins and creatine. And he's like, he had a science lab set up in front of his locker just so he get the exact right amount of nutrients and protein so he could maintain his 330-pound physique, which, because he's an offensive lineman, also contains some fat because you have to carry some extra weight to do the job that they do. And Adrian, here he is trying to be a Mr. Scientist with his diet. Here comes Adrian Peterson walking out, nothing but shorts on, looking like he had been put together in a lab. And the lineman looks up and goes, and Adrian was eating a muffin. And the lineman looks up and says, what the world is just not fair. And he's right. Yeah. The world's not fair. None of us can look like Adrian Peterson no matter what we do. And the modern Viking equivalent of that is Daniil Hunter. Again, we spend a lot of time. We spend time around Rudy Gobert, 7 foot tall, absolutely ripped, zero body fat. We spend time around, Anthony Edwards, one of the most physical players in the league. We spend time around all kinds of Vikings who are just huge. And you see Daniil Hunter with the shirt off, you go, that's not possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, there are certain like just genetic freaks that you learn about. And Adrian was one. I think Hunter is one. Jimmy Butler is another one. Like I remember Jimmy Butler coming to his first Wolves camp and, just noticing like how put together he was. And I was talking with his agent and his agent's like, he doesn't do anything. Like it's just natural that way. Like, and it's amazing. And I think Cam Newton's in that category as well of just like unbelievably gifted. They all work incredibly hard. They all do those things, but like there are certain people that are just meant to wreak havoc, and you do not want to be on the wrong side of those people because they will absolutely have. The other thing is like, especially with football players, jumping in like to a fight with all these guys do is fight. Like,
yeah,
their whole lives. That's all they're doing. They're running into each other. They are pushing and punching and smacking and everything. Like they are in their natural element when you try to meet them with force. So they are more than comfortable with any kind of physicality. And so, I mean, it's just like wrestlers, like the Greco-Roman wrestlers. Like you don't want to get in a fight with a wrestler because that's all they do is
Yep.
grapple with people, and they will take you down in no time flat. And that's what most of these football guys will do to you as well.
No doubt. I have another random NFL moment. We're going to get into Cousins and Jefferson and the combine and some other NFL thoughts here. This is the Viking Update Show, by the way, part of TalkNorth.com. We have 2 NFL shows on the network. They're great companions to one another. This one is John Krawczynski from The Athletic and Jim Souhan, me. From the Star Tribune, we've both been covering and watching the Vikings for many decades. We've been in all the locker rooms. We know the people. The other show is Jeff Diamond's Vikings and NFL Insider. Jeff does a great job, especially with inner front office stuff, salary cap stuff. He's explained many times how the Vikings should go progress this offseason. I highly recommend you checking out that show as well. When you find a show at talknorth.com, whether it's this or Jeff's or anything else, Chin Music, the baseball show, subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's easy. The show and the network are made possible by our sponsors. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We want to thank Defined Destinations, TSR Injury Law, Twill in the Dining Galleria, and Aquarius Home Services. And we do recommend you subscribing to any show you like. It's the easiest way to listen, and it is absolutely free. The other random NFL moment for this week was Travis Kelce kind of got loose from the pack and walked up to the podium at the White House visit, and Patrick Mahomes grabbed him and said, no, we're not doing that. It was the best tackle of the offseason.
And that is where Mahomes' leadership comes into play, right? Like you have Travis Kelce, who I almost don't blame because, geez, he just won another Super Bowl. He's dating Taylor Swift. He has like the most popular podcast in the world. Like everything is coming up aces for this dude. And so he should feel like he can do that. But I think perfect to have the best player in the NFL, just check him a little bit and be like, hey, bud, don't get too far over your skis down. I know you're a big deal. You're not that big of a deal.
No, it's just beautiful stuff. All right, let's get into this. I'm going to make up this time of the year. It's speculation and fun season in the NFL. Which rumor do you put more stock in? That Kirk Cousins will sign with the Atlanta Falcons in free agency, or that Justin Jefferson will be traded?
Man, if I have to pick one, I guess I have to pick Cousins. Even though I don't think either one is going to happen. But if this team trades Justin Jefferson, just fold it. Just go. Like, what are we doing? You have a face of the NFL. You have a prime, just incredibly productive guy and super reliable, hard worker. I think wants to be here, young, not even really maybe in his prime yet. Just give him all the money and go forward with it and do it that way. So like that to me is the most inconceivable thing is like, are you really going to trade a player as productive and marketable as Justin Jefferson? I don't think they're going to. So I guess I have to go with Cousins because maybe there is a little wiggle room. Maybe the Falcons, maybe another team just throws a lot more guaranteed money at him than the Vikings are willing to do. But I still think Kirk is going to end up back here as well.
I agree. It seems to be that, if you pay attention to Twitter anymore, none of us really should, but I still sneak over there every once in a while just to see what people are saying. The hot internet rumor is that Jefferson is open to a trade and the Vikings are considering trading him. I don't believe it. The only qualm I have about saying 100% Justin Jefferson is going to sign a deal and come back to the Vikings. And by the way, let me clarify too. The Vikings don't absolutely have to sign. We all think it's the best idea to sign Jefferson, and they actually benefit with their salary cap if they sign him and get to restructure the contract the way they want to, which is why I think it's going to happen. But they could even keep Jefferson for 2 more years if they didn't sign him to a long-term deal. It would just cause some uncomfortableness. But the only qualm I have about saying 100% Jefferson's back under a massive new deal is we just still aren't quite sure we know how Kwesi thinks.
I think that's very fair, because I guess there's two parts of that, right? One is how Kwesi thinks. Two is how much is Justin Jefferson going to how much pressure would he apply if Cousins doesn't come back,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it because like I do think that it's pretty well established that Justin Jefferson wants to see what the Vikings plan at quarterback is before fully committing to whatever they can get done in Minnesota. So if Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta or somewhere else and the Vikings don't have a plan to move up and draft Drake May or Caleb Williams or someone or Jaden Daniels or whoever, Justin Jefferson really, really likes, that could obviously throw a huge monkey wrench into the whole operation. And maybe Jefferson starts to agitate and starts to make it known that, hey, this isn't where I want to be. And I'm not going to be here long term. And so then maybe Kwesi trades him to try and just maximize the return right away. That's possible. It is also possible that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah like looks at this and doesn't believe that paying a number one wide receiver above what the best wide receiver in the league makes and below what maybe the best quarterback makes is good business. And maybe he tries to get cute with it and kind of go that way. That's possible. So yeah, I guess you definitely cannot say that for anything with a 100% certainty is going to happen. Like Cousins is going to be here, Jefferson's going to be here. I just do think, though, if they do get to a point where they do trade him, it's going to be the most pressure that any team has faced probably since the Vikings traded Moss. Like when you make that deal, and it's going to you better hit a grand slam with the return on it because of the popularity of Jefferson, because of how good that he is. They're just going to have to really maximize it, and that's a lot to ask of any GM. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah being one of them.
Let's get into the combine next and some other Vikings developments and rumors, frankly. But first, we want to thank Define Destinations. We want to hear about John's trip to Spain.
Yep, going to Spain at the end of August 22nd through 29th with Define Destinations, definedestinations.com. Would love for you to join us. If you've listened to Russo's show, you've known that he's gone on several amazing trips with fans, with listeners, and they've had an incredible time. I hope that you will join me for a taste of Spain at definedestinations.com. You get 4-star hotels in the hearts of Madrid and Barcelona. We'll get airfare from Minneapolis to go over there. Incredible museum visits, sightseeing tours, sangria and tapas tours, like food tours. Like it's going to be a really, really cool thing. We will spend some time together. We'll talk some Wolves. We'll talk some Vikings. We'll enjoy two of the most exotic cities in the world. And you'll also have plenty of time to go out and explore on your own as well. And so I really hope that you sign up at definedestinations.com. A taste of Spain, Madrid, and Barcelona at the end of August. It's going to be an unforgettable trip, and I look forward to you guys all joining me.
We also want to thank Aquarius Home Services.
Scott for Aquarius, wishing you a happy new year. And happy, how can we be only halfway through winter? Want some good news? Now is the time to replace your old furnace and AC with a new high-efficiency whole home heating and cooling system. Because at Aquarius, you can install it now and not pay a penny until next year. Visit AquariusHomeservices.com and schedule your free estimate today. Financing offer subject to available credit. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
All right, John. So I've been very fortunate. I've done pretty much every job I ever wanted to do in this business. I've covered almost everything I wanted to cover with just a couple exceptions. Never covered a British Open. I always thought that would be cool. Never covered the Indy 500, which I don't know. I'm not sure I would have loved it, but it would have been an intriguing thing to do. And I never covered the NFL Combine. Of the three, the NFL Combine is the one I'm glad I missed. It's and but I do have friends who covered it when it started, and there were like 3 reporters hanging out, just grabbing people as they wandered around. It, like everything with the NFL, it has gone from this small little mom and pop oddity into a worldwide event. I'm not sure it should be, but it's another way the NFL keeps itself in front of its fans during the offseason, which is great marketing. How much do you pay attention to what you see at the combine and what you hear coming out of the combine?
Yeah, well, I have covered the combine several times. I used to live in Indianapolis when I covered when I was with the Associated Press, and so this was 03, 04, so it's a long time ago now. But I have been there. Um, it is. I would say this. I don't put a ton of stock into 40 times, bench presses, like what these guys do from a performative standpoint there. I mean, it helps every once in a while to see, oh, this offensive lineman is actually really, really strong, or hey, that wide receiver actually isn't as quite as fast as you think. So factor that into things. So that helps a little bit, but really the value of the combine is that everyone in the league is in one place, and you can wander the hallways of the Indian Center. Of you can kind of linger in the lobbies of the hotels right around there, and you can find coaches, you can find executives, you can find agents, you can find scouts, and have real face-to-face interaction and conversation with them to help you get information and start to develop your opinions on players, on hear scuttlebutt and gossip that's going around the league. It's a very, very valuable that way. I do think, especially let's say in the last 10 years, it's become even more of a circus, and it's sometimes a little harder to get in front of people like in quiet corners and really share stuff. But if you're enterprising, if you have good relationships, you can do it. Indianapolis is a small town, so you can find, you can meet for lunches and things with people, and do it that way. But that to me is the real value of the event, and it is not, it's no joke that way. There's just especially in the very sheltered world of the NFL, to be able to have a chance to roam a little bit freely, find people that you need, and have real conversations with them, big time helpful. And I always enjoyed that part of the combine.
We want to thank TSR Injury Law, sponsor of this show, also sponsor the John Krawczynski Show, John's show on the Timberwolves. It's one of our most popular shows at talknorth.com. As Steve Terry always tells me, all you have to do is just let people know what the phone number is, because once you call them, they will help you, and you will appreciate having known that phone number. 612 TSR time. They will not charge you unless they win your case. They win a lot of cases. They're great to deal with. They're good people. 612 TSR time. Also want to tell you about my favorite men's clothing store in the Edina Galleria or anywhere. Twill. TwillMN.com is the website. Twill in the Edina Galleria is the right way to think of it. And I've just been a big fan of the Brax pants. They're just, it's like, I wear jeans a lot because I'm a sports writer, and we all tend to wear jeans a lot. But sometimes I want something that looks a little bit better than jeans. Sometimes I want something, frankly, it's more comfortable than jeans. That fits me better than jeans. And Brax has that. It's like they have pants that look dressy. They have pants that basically are jean replacement, where you can throw on a dress shirt, you can throw on a dress shirt and tie or a sport coat, and they will look like dress pants. I just love that about this place. So it's one of the many brands I'm going to be highlighting about Twill. But I also recommend going into Twill. The Edina Gallery is a beautiful place to shop. Stop by Twill. There's no pressure. It's experienced long-term employees who know their stock, who know their clientele. They just want you to come in and take a look around and feel relaxed. That's why I love the place. Scott Dayton's in there. Tell him we sent you. Scott's a great guy. He'll want to talk sports with you. Scott Dayton's Twill in the Edina Galleria. All right. So Kirk Cousins is throwing. He's putting out a video of himself throwing. That's obviously a way for him to let other teams know that, yes, he's healthy. He's overcoming the Achilles injury. That's really not a surprise. I mean, even those who are not high on Kirk Cousins for whatever reason, nobody can question the guy's, you know, intensity and willingness to work through this kind of thing.
Yeah, no, everyone really does trust that he is going to put in the work, that he wants to get back. Yes, he does take Tuesdays off in the regular season, which seems to be a scandal sometimes for some people with quarterbacks. But no, he wants it. And when you put a video out like this out there, you also are using it, let's face it, for a little bit of uh negotiating leverage, perhaps. Like, hey, I'm showing all the teams out there I'm doing what I need to be doing. I'm healthy. I'm going to be ready to go by next season. Don't you worry about it. He's very shrewd that way. And so, but I still think, like, it's amazing the way that sort of rehabilitation has come in the NFL, how far it has come, because it was not that long ago where Achilles, man, you're 2 years out, or you may never come back. And now he is looking like he's on track to be ready to go very early next season, probably for the start of it. And when you put the work in like he does, when you utilize the resources that the Vikings have for that kind of stuff, it is remarkable what they're able to accomplish right now, because that was a career-ending injury 20 years ago. It was a multi-year injury, maybe 8 years ago, and now it's, if you get injured early enough in the season, you can make it back for the next season. That looks like what he's aiming to do.
No doubt about it. Interesting development here. Even as we're talking here on Monday morning, the Dolphins are releasing veteran cornerback Xavier Howard. The Vikings are in desperate need of cornerback help. I wonder if he would want to be reunited with Brian Flores. That could solve some problems. Also, one of the good things about the many good things about the combine is that the general manager and the coach actually talk to people, and we don't always get that here. And the Vikings are probably one of the more accessible NFL franchises, but they just don't spend a lot of time in the offseason talking. And Kwesi doesn't talk much at all. So I think maybe that will give us some insights into what they're thinking, and maybe we'll hear more about Danielle Hunter at that point.
Yeah, and one of the things about these availabilities that happen during the combine, a lot of times you have a poker game going on with executives and coaches talking about their positions versus what an impending free agent is going to want, and all those things. But I have found that I think Kwesi is a little bit more candid, than a lot of general managers out there. Like, I mean, he's not going to show you all of his cards. He's not going to be, just like peel back the curtain and say, hey, come and look, this is exactly what we think and what we're going to do. But I do think that when writers and media sit down with him in Indianapolis, you will have some sort of a feeling of where things stand coming out of it. And certainly, I think the dynamics around a Danielle Hunter negotiation, the future of him are particularly interesting, just given that I don't think the negotiations have been real great the last couple of years. I think that I'm not sure that a ton of goodwill has been built up between the team and Hunter and his representation, and so that probably adds a little bit to the fire. They're just the Vikings' pure need for high-end talent on defense really puts them at a disadvantage in this situation. And so I think that whatever happens with Hunter is really going to be a barometer on where they're going next season. Like, if they bring him back, if they keep him in the fold, I think that the chances of this team bouncing back and getting back into contention in the division is much, much better than if he walks out the door and they have to find a way to replace him.
No doubt about that. All right. Well, we'll talk more about the combine, about NFL developments, about which Vikings rumors we think you should heed and which you shouldn't next week. We appreciate you listening. Let's get a final thought from John on anything in the world he likes. I'll offer one as well. Thanks again to our producer, Brandon Morton. Thanks again to Aquarius Home Services, Defined Destinations, TSR Injury Law, and Twill in the Edina Galleria. Again, tell Scott Dayton we sent you. I highly recommend shopping there for gifts or whatever you like for yourself. All right, John, give me a final thought.
Yeah, one of the things that's been interesting over the last couple of years now with the combine is fewer and fewer high profile players are actually working out there, in particular quarterbacks. And I do think that when you see like last year, CJ Stroud's like test results were leaked, and that may have kind of bumped him down the board just a little bit. I think things like that. I think that in the era of NIL, in the era of kind of college players starting to understand maybe more of the power that they have, especially in this situation going into the draft, I think you're going to see less and less cooperation with the NFL machine when it comes to participating in the combine, when it comes to doing all of these tests that they ask you to do, when it comes, all of this stuff. I think, the Marvin Harrisons of the world can tell any team to go fly a kite in terms of like, oh, I'm not going to, you want to see me run the 40 in Indianapolis? You want me to take this cognitive test? You want me to do that? I would just say no. No, I'm not doing it. Now, yeah, go ahead, pass over me in the draft at your own peril. So I think you're going to start to see more of those power plays from the very, top of the food chain, the most coveted prospects in going into the draft, and just like having them dictate a little bit more to the NFL versus the other way around. I think that's a trend that's going to keep continuing here.
Good stuff, John. We'll talk to you next week. Also check out the John Krawczynski Show on the Timberwolves here at TalkNorth.com.